think one of the difficulties about this story, Sue, is that there's nothing tangible about it yet. So we hear and are aware of how serious it is, but it feels like it just isn't going to capture the broader public imagination and perhaps do anything to demand a more vigorous response until we have some tangible evidence of what this is all resulting in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kelly. That's a really great point. And I think it's been the problem with cyber for many years is because you can't feel it, because it doesn't have the same visceral impact as a physical attack. Both the respondents and the attackers feel like they can get away with it, right? Because there's going to be no response, and the defenses sometimes think, well, it hasn't really happened to me yet, so I don't need to spend the resources to protect myself. If this is not the moment that we use, not only nationally but globally, got to wrap our head around that these are just as damaging as anything physical, we will have really lost a moment. So I think this is a great time to embrace it. I love the conversations we're having. I love when Brad Smith jumps into it. I love it when FireEye jumps in. And I think we just need to keep having this conversation.
Sue, one more point on this. You know, with 400 or so companies, at least, as Eamon mentioned, affected by this, are they going to be able to figure out what was taken from them? I mean, it goes back to what FireEye told us. They said that in large part it was their tools that were hacked. So in other words, it's methods for gaining information more so perhaps than any vault that has passwords in it or something to that effect. So if I'm a large corporation, I wonder if, you know, overseas players are stealing my trade secrets. How do I know exactly what information they have?
Yeah, so in a weird sort of way, the government and the companies are going to be doing the same thing. First thing, you have to stop the bleeding. So all the notices that are going out about the software vectors, you have to immediately take care of that software package. And if it turns out that it's another, you need to stay on top of that. Then you need to really dive in and do some forensic analysis to understand what was happening in your network. And one of the challenges is the talent required to do that analysis is elusive, but you still have to invest in it. Then you have to do a damage assessment. What were they after in your company? And remember, just because there was a vector in doesn't mean that the attackers used it. So you're going to have to do the diving. And then companies and the government alike are going to have to do some strategic remediation, look at their architecture, look at the culture. Are they trying to solve cybersecurity with just technology, or do they have their whole corporate risk security culture in place?
Yeah. Eamon, I'm curious. I mean, you mentioned that the response from the U.S. is something that is going to be vigorous and all of this, but we're in the middle of a presidential transition right now. So presumably that response is going to wait until at least the Biden administration is in place. And I think the last that I saw was comments from the president-elect suggesting maybe putting together a commission to look at what had happened. I mean, is it possible that we're going to get something more muscular than that or not, do you think?
It absolutely is possible from the Biden team, and that's what they're hinting at today by saying that the president-elect is a man of his word and they're not going to telegraph what they're going to do. But clearly, he intends to convene allies around the world and take some kind of coordinated response to that. The question is, what's that going to be? And, you know, look, Kelly, while we have Sue Gordon here, I mean, she has been active in these issues at the highest levels at CIA and at the Director of National Intelligence Office for decades. I actually have a question for Sue, which is what companies should do here. We're talking about the government response, but we know that a lot of companies have been hit by this, and presumably they've suffered some damage. We have not seen a lot of large public companies, though, come out and admit that to their customers and to their investors. And for Sue, the question I have is, what role does corporate disclosure have to play here? Do these companies need to tell us they've been hit and the extent of the damage?
Yeah, that's a great point, Eamon. I think if we are going to get out of this as a nation, and you asked what a more muscular response should look like, we have got to act as one team. And there is way too much secrecy and privacy around attacks. If companies worried about their reputational risk of their shareholders, the government worried about revealing information, this has got to be one team. So what I would say is companies go through to really make sure that your cybersecurity from top to bottom is really well understood, and that your whole company understands how important this is, not only for your business, but the critical infrastructure of the nation. But as we build a response, we have got to do much better at sharing, and this is a great moment to do it. So quit holding tight, throw our lots in together, and we will find a new way forward. So I hope the Biden administration really makes this a joint public-private, not only look at this event, but as they think about a cyber structure going forward, that it has to be shared between the two.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.